Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So tonight or today or whenever, wherever you are, I'm going to be talking about a book called The Sound of Stars by Alechia Dow. Now, I'm very much now at this point a fan of Alechia Dow's work because I read The Kindred first and then A Song of Salvation, and now after reading The Sound of Stars, I feel like I have a much more holistic view of the universe that all three of those books are written in, and the events of the war that's pretty much depicted in all three books, or at least in different ways it's shown. And I love that it's I don't think it's actually really marketed as a series. They're all three like different standalone books, I think, but they depict different parts of the same events, and I just really like being able to see different perspectives and seeing it all come together in the end as well. I will say, I think I read them out of order. No, I know I read them out of order. Sorry, I was rushing around, so my breathing is kind of... I have to calm my breathing because I was rushing around a little bit to get this set up set up. And I'm still not really used to my nose. If you don't know, I had surgery on my nose. And essentially now I can breathe through my nose, and I was not able to do that really all that well for most of my life until 2-3 months ago. That's right, it was December was the surgery. So as a result, I'm relearning how to breathe when I am, and normally it's like fine, whatever. Walking around, I can breathe just fine through my nose, but when I get to breathing, when I'm rushed, it feels different. So that's where I am right now, and it's really difficult when I get excited about books too, and I'm doing these whisper videos. I gotta make sure to not get too excited, I guess. So yeah, and that's gonna be hard for this one because it's, if I am placing the events correctly, just based on my own memory, I think this book comes second in, like, if you were to put The Kindred, The Sound of Stars, and A Song of Salvation next to each other, that would be the order I would go with, even though I think The Kindred was the second book published after The Sound of Stars. Either way, if you intend to read all three of them, I would recommend saving A Song of Salvation for last, and then going with the other two books first. And if you want it in chronological time order, I believe it's The Kindred, The Sound of Stars, and then A Song of Salvation. And The Sound of Stars is specifically the one I'm talking about tonight. And I think those are the only three so far in the universe. I'll have to do a little digging to make sure I'm not being inaccurate on that. And if I am, you'll probably see another video of me talking about the next book. So The Sound of Stars, it's, by the way, I'm going to be talking about this book in a way of, like, you don't have to have read the other two books to understand this review, and you also don't have to have have watched my other two reviews to understand this review. So, just a little disclaimer. The Sound of Stars, I have my notes pulled up next to me, that's why I keep glancing that way. I also have the cover up there, and it's really pretty. I love all three of the books. The art style, so very pretty. But yeah, I guess I'll start with kind of just the premise. Yeah. So the Sound of Stars. Imagine Earth, but taken over by aliens. Specifically, these aliens are called the Alluri, and they are a colonizing race or species, or yeah, they go to throughout the universe. They are expanding their empire and conquering various places, and Earth happens to be their newest place. And yeah, humans don't like that very much, but yeah, at the beginning of this takeover, the start was the Alluri had sent a few ships to just do negotiation with humans, but humans being humans, they just shot down the ships before the ships even got to Earth. So as a result, the Alluri took the world by force instead of doing any negotiations, and now humans are living pretty badly. Their quality of life has gotten, well, I guess there's nuance to it actually, and I'll probably talk about that in terms of human quality of life. And I really like that there's nuance because, yeah, the Alluri are definitely what they're doing is not good, but at the same time, they're like reversing climate change effects and such because they don't like what humans have done to the planet. So, I mean, in some ways, it's they are doing some good, but at the same time, they're also suppressing any sort of freedom that humans once had. So, like, people are, I believe, like a third of humanity was wiped out and killed, and those who are left were put in these. I don't remember what they were actually called, but like they were grouped together in a bunch of buildings in various places around the planet, and they have to follow very strict rules. The humans do, and if a human commits like two transgressions or two major transgressions, then they would be killed. And when I say like two major transgressions, like if a human reads a book, then that is a transgression. If they listen to music, that is a transgression. Or if they harbor books or music, that's a transgression. And so, and if you get two transgressions, you die. So, and it's really an interesting depiction of like humans pitted against other humans as well, and just depicting how eager some humans can be to just turn on other people, and turn other people in. It's very much I think it's very relevant to now. The whole, there's a lot of circulation online of talking about people in the United States right now, in relation to there have been discussions of just like people being like, oh yeah, I would have hidden Anne Frank, or well, would you have hidden Anne Frank really? And there's a lot of people today that are proving they would not have, they would have turned her in. And yeah, there's just a lot of that going on in the United States right now. And yeah, with what history has shown, banning books and banning music, banning art, human expression is one of the early stages of, just a government extending its reach way too far. Yeah, well, it's not really the government, it's specific individuals, I should say. But yeah, this book is very timely, And if I remember right, I think it came out pretty recently, somewhere 2016 to 2020 or so, I want to say. So I imagine it's very much a direct response to current times. And unfortunately, it's even more timely than maybe it was anticipating being, or hoping to be. So that's kind of the start of that's where the world is at. And specifically, we follow a couple of perspectives. Yeah, remember how I said there was the whole thing of transgressions. If you read a book or if you harbor books, you could die. So meet Ellie, one of our two main characters. She is a human, fairly young, I think a teenager, and she has a love of books that ends up being one of her ways of rebellion. Now it's secret rebellion, but it's still she harbors books. She loves books, so she has a lot. I think if I remember right, like over 60 or so. And considering people had their books confiscated, keeping 60 is pretty good. And she keeps them in like this basement portion of the building that her family is in and that a lot of humans were kind of forced into living in. And she keeps it as like a library. She'll like let other people borrow her books. And yeah, operate as a secret library under the Alluri's radar. Well, for a little while, Ellie's library was operating just fine and all that, but then one of the Alluri, his name is Morris, or at least there's a hard to pronounce Alluri name, but the way of saying it, say out loud via human speech, is just to say Morris. So Morris discovers Ellie's library and starts reading one of her books, specifically The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. And Morris really gets into it. He's like, oh wow, this book is really engaging, that's amazing. And Morris is going into this already being a lover of music, which is not really supposed to be a thing. As an Alluri, he is supposed to not have emotions. But the thing is, Alluri do have emotions, it's just part of their culture to really suppress them. And in addition, there are two types of Alluri. There are the true Alluri, and there are the lab-made Alluri. The lab-made Alluris are essentially kind of working as servants to the true Alluri, and the lab-maids go and just do all the dirty work, really. And Morris is a lab-maid. He's one of the ones on Earth who are, doing all the dirty work of conquering the Earth for the true Alluri. And so when Morris read the book The Hate You Give, he felt very inspired because he's planning to be part of his own rebellion against the true Alluri. And specifically, there's a lot of just the true Alluri very much discriminate against and look down on the lab-made Alluri. So I really hope also I'm saying Alluri right. I should have looked that up. It's Ilori is the spelling of it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm used to reading words. Speaking them, it's debatable. Yeah. Anyway, so So he was also interested in Ellie keeping this library. He was going, oh wow, this is definitely something that could get her killed, but she's still doing it. Maybe her love of books is as strong as my love for music. Oh, I didn't completely finish that thought. Elori are not supposed to feel emotions. That's part of their culture, or they're not supposed to express them, I should say. And they view the arts, writing and music, as too emotional, too much expression of feelings, and it could incite rebellion. So Morris has to listen to music in secret. It's also really hard because the Elori kind of have a sort of hive mind kind of system where it's really easy sometimes for specific Elori to get into the mind of another. So Morris has to keep his rebellious thoughts and music secret. And Ellie also has to keep her books secret as well. And yeah, that's kind of the premise, I would say. And I'm wondering how far to go before generalizing, because if you want to read it, I don't want to talk more than the really beginning part. I think I would say, well, they meet, Morris introduces himself and he's like, hey, I won't tell anybody about your library, but give me all the music you can find, please. And he wants to get to know her too, because he feels like they have a connection of, love for rebellious artistic things. So he wants to get to know her more. And yeah, so I'll just say from there that things happen, shenanigans happen, dangerous, high-stakes things, and they end up having to leave the building and travel for a while. So there's a lot of action, a lot of stuff with family too, because Ellie has her mom and dad who are getting more and more affected by the Elori's takeover the world. And when I say that, I mean her parents are, her dad was sort of forced to be subjugated in his mind, to where he's kind of most of the time he's brainwashed into being a good human guard for the Elori. And then her mom is trying to remember what I understood from it. Her mom was very much affected too, but not, I don't think she had a literal, I don't think her brain was tampered with as much as, there was so much stress and so much, the things she had to do in her work got to be too much for her, and so she ended up turning to drinking in order to get through the day. So Ellie really doesn't recognize her parents anymore, and so there's a lot of there's a lot of conflict and struggle in Ellie just trying to survive and also trying to cling on to her humanity via her books, while also trying to recover her parents, and context, yeah, and also, I mean, Earth in general, that's a larger overall conflict. The two, Morris and Ellie, end up playing larger roles than they initially thought they would, I think, in the, just in the rebellion against the Alluri conquering Earth. And yeah, I just really love all the detail of the world building. And there are there's context that, or there are things that with the context of the other books makes it really exciting to read. Yeah, I won't get into too much detail because it's kind of spoilery. I can't believe I kind of forgot to mention, this is, there's romance between Ellie and Morris. So yeah, in this sort of dystopian-y alien takeover world, Morris and Ellie end up getting really close. And the romance is very cute. I do quite love it. And it seems reasonable for the events. I don't know how to... It's like the book events take place in a fairly short amount of time, I think maybe like a week or two. And they get close very quickly, but because of the intensity of the stakes and everything around them, it makes sense to me the way that they get close. And they even acknowledge it in the book. They're like, wait, this feels a little fast. Or at least Ellie acknowledges it, and Morris is going, hey, I've been suppressing my feelings for a while. I kind of want to express them, and I know that these are true. So, yeah, it was really neat to see. It was really neat to see Morris just being very expressive with his feelings, and trusting Ellie to just take his vulnerable feelings seriously. Same way with how Morris treated Ellie as well. She very much learned to be closed off in this new world. I mean, like I said, with her parents, she has lost kind of the people she felt closest to. She's lost connection with them, and she just doesn't recognize them anymore. She also has a best friend who is, I mean, doing about as reasonably as one might expect in a situation like this. But yeah, so Ellie is trying to protect them as much as she can, her parents and her best friend, and then also even letting in Morris. And yeah, it's one of the things with Ellie that I really enjoyed reading was how at the beginning of the book she's very justifiably what's the word? Is it jaded? Well, humanity has done a lot to convince her that she doesn't really need to do anything for humanity, you know? She's really just trying to look out for herself and the people she's closest to, because everybody else is just horrible, you know, in general. And that philosophy makes complete sense to me, especially, I guess I haven't mentioned, yeah, especially she's black, and she's experienced quite a bit of discrimination and racism, so it makes sense to me that she does not, that in this big overall, alien takeover conflict, she's kind of going, well, I mean, humans were destroying each other anyway, so it kind of makes, some of the Alluri, changes are kind of improvements, and if they hadn't done it, we would have done it to each other, or if they hadn't, been so violent and, killed us, we would have killed each other, is kind of where Ellie's coming from. But over the course of the book, she becomes more. She realizes that she does have power, and she does have, there is power in the individual to be able to change even a giant conflict that seems untouchable, you know? And I really love that about, actually, all three of the books I've read by Alechia Dow, because all of the main characters I've read have really undergone a change like that of feeling, I guess, stepping up and just getting involved in a larger fight. So it's really powerful to read that, and especially to see it. I mean, just to see all of the, I shouldn't spoil. It's cathartic. So, it's cathartic. Oh, right. I guess since I already kind of segued into the other two books as well, I might as well say now, that, like Alechia Dow's other works that I've read, the cast is diverse. It's got, plenty of characters of different sexualities, genders, romantic orientations, races, species. I mean, there are aliens. And what else? Body types. What else did I note? Oh, socioeconomic status. So yeah, it's just reading anything with people who should be in every single story, or I guess I should say reading books with different types of people should be in every story, but it isn't. So it's really nice to find stories in books like this where it's just the norm, and also, just as a bit of representation, I noticed Ellie. I love Ellie, by the way. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah. Ellie, she's black, and she's plus sized, and a lot of the stuff she was, she's experienced, other people looking at her and not finding her attractive or beautiful because she's plus sized. And I love that Morris just completely jumps in and is like, what? No, you're beautiful. You are absolutely beautiful as you are. And he's even kind of confused that Ellie would even imply that was an issue for him. So yeah. Also, Ellie is demi-ace, and they also talk about that, and how that, affects their relationship and stuff. And I think she's also maybe bi, if I remember right. I think that was in there too. Possibly pan. I don't think there was an actual, I don't think Ellie clarified a label as much as it was just said that she had a crush on a girl, and kissed a girl, as well as, having a crush on a guy. So I don't know if Ellie would say she's bi or pan or what specifically, in terms of romantic orientation. But that's another thing to know. And me being asexual panromantic as a whole, I very much love seeing ace representation, and of course panromantic orientation or bi representation or anything like that. But I feel like ace representation is harder to find, especially just, in general, yes, but also in sci-fi genres in sci-fi. I'm always always looking for queer representation in sci-fi. So yeah, or I always love to find it. And I mentioned also with Ellie being demi-ace, they talked about sex a little bit, and I like how Morris, like he identifies as a guy. He just like was very much open to talking about sex, and he was the one, I think, who really started the conversation of being like, I don't think I'm very good at sex. And Ellie was going, okay, that's abrupt. I did not expect you to just start talking to me about that. Because the conversation before that was like, tell me about yourself. What are you good at? What are you not good at? Or what are your likes and dislikes and stuff? It's just, Morris had sex, I think, one time with another lab mate he was supposed to marry or be engaged to, I think. And he didn't really like it, because she didn't treat him well and stuff, and there's definitely more to unpack there. I don't know if I should talk about that in this, though, because I think that's really you should read the book kind of thing. Also, I just realized that I think his fiance, or whoever that is in terms of title position, I think she's actually in A Song of Salvation. I think she comes in. That makes sense now. I really have to reread these in order. There are a lot of connections between the three books, and it's really fun to catch them. Yeah. Oh, I was saying, though, about just, I think it's nice to see just casual talk about sex in books, especially for like books that are a YA audience. Because talking about sex should be normal. Should be normalized. And I'm saying this as an asexual person who does not like sex and does not ever want to do it. But I still think it's important to talk about for the sake of cultivating a safer society. Or I should say, cultivating a society where safer sex is practiced, and as a result, especially like teenagers are less likely to experience life-changing things in relation to sex. Anyway, so I just liked that Morris and Ellie talked about it kind of casually. I feel like I'm kind of being redundant in my praises for this book, given that I just read The Kindred and A Song of Salvation, and I just did the videos for those. I feel like I'm being a little redundant, but like some of the things that made all three of the books amazing were actually like very similar to each other. So I hope you don't mind if you've seen the other videos that I'm kind of saying sort of the same sort of things. How many times did I say sort of there? Anyway, so I think this video might end up being actually shorter than the other two, because I think I did mostly explain the premise about as much as I can, because there's a lot of it that I think you really just have to read to experience. Even like about 30% of the way in, there's a kind of important moment that I feel like I shouldn't reveal, but that sets off them traveling together and all that. Anyhow, I encourage you to read it, and that way you can figure it out for yourself. Again, a probably shorter video than the previous ones. I'm kind of maybe hoping to actually try to narrow down the videos to being between 30 minutes to an hour instead of an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. And that's not because like I could say more about this book, but I feel like it depends on my tiredness level of how concise I am. And right now I'm a little more awake than I usually am, so I think I kind of got through pretty much most of anything, all the stuff I wanted to say pretty quickly. Yeah, it's just a really fun read. Yeah, just overall, I love the romance. I loved following it, and I was motivated the entire time to keep going because I wanted to know where the end of the book was going, and also where the romance was going. And what's funny is actually because of like Morris and Ellie, they appear in A Song of Salvation, so I know where this book was going, at least to a certain extent, but I had no idea where it was going to stop, I guess, is what I would say about that. And so even after reading A Song of Salvation and knowing kind of where all these events were going, I still really enjoyed reading how it got there in this book. So, yeah. I was also kind of confused in A Song of Salvation when I first read through it, because Morris and Ellie just kind of appeared, and I didn't really know what was going on, but I was going, these characters are probably from something I haven't read, and they are important, I gather that, so I'm really glad to have gotten to read the backstory on it, because I thought they were cute in the how should I describe? I'll just say they're in that book as well, and they were cute. So I'm glad to have actually like read through their origin ? Their the story of how they met and how they went from on the individual level of resistance via books and music to a larger level of resistance via, you'll have to read to find out. Yeah. Okay, I think I am kind of going in circles now of just being like, I loved reading this book. And I'm a little sad, actually. I think that this is the last of, or at least the last of the ones that are out that are set in this universe. And with the way A Song of Salvation ended, it seemed like it was open to the possibility of another book, but also I could see it stopping there as well. So I'm kind of going, I don't know. I hope, though, to read more of Alechia Dow's works in the future, because I really did enjoy these, and I loved breezing through these. I say breezing through. Like, it did take me, the course of 3 weeks or so for these 3 books. Typically, it takes me about a week to read a book. Kind of on and off. So I wouldn't necessarily say breeze, especially because it wasn't like I wasn't reading it. Like, you get what I mean. I enjoyed the book so much that I had a hard time putting them down. So there was one night that was I gave myself kind of a mean cliffhanger, and I ended on a chapter where I was going, well, that seems like not a nice chapter to leave off on, because it's just the rudest cliffhanger I could have given myself. But I was not close enough to the end of the story to where I felt like I could stay awake to finish it completely. And I also felt like, well, alright, I gotta stop, and this seems like I can't read much longer anyway, so there might be an even worse cliffhanger if I go to the next chapter, so I'm just gonna stop here. And I did that with this book. Yeah. But it was good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah. Do I want to say anything about the music, too? I feel like that goes into slight spoiler territory as well. But I'll say this book, like the other 2 books, has a it seems like it weaves together quite a bit of influence from music. Yeah, I think that's where I'll leave that. Yeah, just seems I had quite a bit of fun time reading these books. So I encourage you to check them out. Yeah. Okay. We'll end there before I just keep blabbing on. Alright. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I mean, you're a really good listener, obviously. You're still here, so. And I mean, even if you kind of dozed off during this, that's perfectly fine. Or if you're like hardly listening and then just sort of perked up whenever I said thank you for listening, no worries. I'm just kind of here, you know? I'm just kind of here, so don't worry about it. I'm just here. Yeah. Anyway, thank you again for listening. And I hope this helped you in some way or another. Maybe decide on the next book to read, or yeah, whatever you feel like listening to this for. And yeah, may you get where you need to go.